Hello, my name is Dylan Trippin. I am a fourth year general architecture student, and this is my WTH planning video. So I live in St. Louis, Missouri, and every time I drive from either home to Manhattan, I have to drive through Kansas City. And this has one of the worst examples of interstate planning. It is nearly impossible to get from one side of Interstate 70 to the other and drive through Kansas City. So in this video, I'll demonstrate some of the flaws that I have seen in Interstate 70. So starting out, going from St. Louis to Kansas City and going on to Manhattan, so going from east to west, you first get to a point where I-70 narrows down to one lane to merge onto I-35 North. The problem with this is there are no road signs doing that, and it can create quite a backup. So if you're driving and you're not really expecting it, the lane can shut down, you have to deal with merging, and it's kind of a nightmare. Moving on a little bit north of that, so after you manage that, there's these roads that merge directly into I-70. However, there's no merging lane for these vehicles to merge onto the road, and so they basically have to go from a standstill to 70 miles an hour while having cars coming up behind them. It makes it really difficult and is just not a good example of planning. Next, after you get past that, you have to go from the right side of the road all the way to 3 lanes across to the left to merge again onto yet another interstate. And again, the same problem of having 2 lanes merge down into one without any road signs can be quite stressful and can create quite a backup. So after you manage that, you drive all the way across the river, and then once again, you have to use one lane to merge back onto 670 to get onto 70. And this turn is quite steep, and you have to slow down quite dramatically. So it is a really kind of a dangerous turn, and overall, it is not very easy going east to west. However, going from Manhattan to St. Louis, so driving west to east across Kansas City, is even more difficult. So once you get on I-70 and you cross over to river, everything narrows down to one lane to merge onto I-70 again. The problem with this is there's a lane that cuts right in front, and so a lot of times you have traffic trying to merge. And then if you're in the left lane going through Kansas City and you're not prepared, you will not be able to get over into the right lane. That's because it bogs down so much because it's only one lane, and it creates this long line of traffic going all the way from the exit all the way to the river. That makes it almost impossible to get. So once you do that, if you miss the turn, you have quite a problem because there's no easy way to get on I-70 after you've passed the only exit line. You have to get off at the nearest exit and circle around. Problem with that is it'll put you on the highway, but there is a divider in between lanes, and it will not let you merge back onto I-70. So it spits you out on the highway going back the way you came. It's just really quite a nightmare. And finally, after you do successfully merge onto the next interstate, finally it merges down from 2 lanes to 1, again without any signs, which is dangerous, creates backup, and is just an overall not a very good example of planning. Last week, I was driving home from Thanksgiving break, and it took me about 30 minutes to get from the west side of Kansas City to the east side, just because the traffic, the interstate, and all the exits are not marked well. The lanes merge down into one lane, and it is just a very poor planning example. This problem with the highways first probably started when the interstate system was first being planned. Kansas City was not as big back then and probably did not anticipate the sprawl that it had. So I think had planners been more mindful of the growth that their city was going to encounter, they could have solved a lot of these issues. As for going ahead and solving it, I'm not really sure what the method for that is. I feel like they're already too thick into the weeds of their sprawl and urban planning with the interstate system. I don't think it's going to be a real a solution to really build an interstate that goes completely around the city, because who knows, in 100 years, they may have the same system where they outgrow that as well. I think the best method that Kansas City could start to do to fix their infrastructure is to start planning for maybe a high-speed rails or other forms of transit other than cars to limit to provide other options for vehicles and people transiting across the city. If they invest in high transit rail, for example, that would lower the number of people on the roads, ease congestion, as well as make it easier to get from place to place, connecting through Kansas City to other destinations. Thank you.